Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Money Down Pod. I am Kayvon and Shawn. That is my guy, Shawn White. Follow us on Twitter at Money Down Pod. You can find us wherever you listen to your podcasts, including YouTube. Please go and check it out. Give us a like, 5-star review, a comment. And as always, as we always have been doing since day one, we will always comment back. So we thank you so much for tuning in to the Money Down Pod. Is what is the NFL review week. NFL preview week, reviewing what we just saw Thursday night, but previewing everything moving forward. So we're going to have a lot of fun with it. Shawn, let's get right into it. But first of all, how are you doing, my guy?
Doing great. Excited for this week coming up. We got some stuff going on. Urban Meyer got fired from my team, so that's been a hectic last 48 hours or so. That's been going crazy. We got some good bets coming up. I hope everybody's following the Twitter. I sent out a good tweet right when Urban got fired, and it came through. I don't know if y'all saw it. They had us. Vegas had us -3.5. The Jags. And I was all over it once Urban got fired because the offensive staff's going to be wanting to prove that, hey, we're not the problem. That's going to be a good game. They moved it to 5. That's why you got to follow the Twitter if you want to get on these bets really quick early in the week.
And all you have to do is hit that little button, that alert button on the Money Down Pod. It's literally at Money Down Pod, and you will get a tweet every time we did it. Not to mention just what Shawn tweeted, but also the week that we had last week. We've been absolutely on fire, and we're going to get to that in just a little bit to review it and then to also give you our picks for this upcoming week. So, yeah, great call there, Shawn. I think we should start it off with the game last night, just since it just happened, and then after that, we'll move into previewing some of these games. Last night, man, was one of the oddest games I've ever seen. There should have been 70 points scored in that game, bro. That over should have hit by halftime. But because of some odd play calling, some really weird play calling, especially on the Chargers' part, some missed throws by Mahomes, some gutsy calls, it didn't end up happening. The over did hit, though. If anyone was on the over, it just had to happen in overtime. And the Chiefs ended up pulling out a win that really solidifies the division for them. I mean, they could. The Chargers still have a chance, but the Chiefs would really have to fall apart. If the Chargers won that game, the Chargers would have had a legit shot because they would have been tied in record-wise, and they would have had the series sweep over the Chiefs. So that was a huge, huge win for the Chiefs. Mahomes looks great. Kelsey, and the one way you beat the Chiefs is by stopping who? Kelsey and Hill. And literally one had 11 catches and one had 12 catches. Like, they had massive games. The Chiefs looked awesome. The Chargers put up a fight, but I think I want to leave this to you because I know you have something you want to say about Brandon Staley and the way the Chargers went about this game plan.
Yeah, so there was 3 big time things that really hurt the Chargers. Those are the 3 points I want to hit. Sometimes you got to make sure you're in check with these analytics. I know it's who they are with this going for it that they're doing. Sometimes you got to take the points, man. And that really hurt them in the end. I know that's their DNA, though, so I kind of understand you want to go along with how the locker room feels. If Herbert's into it, I understand. But, man, having those points would have been big time. I think Staley probably needs to assess and feel out the game, maybe get a good feel of when his offense is clicking and can convert those a little bit better. And maybe if his offense is cold, maybe not really push it as hard on that. You know what I mean? That's something that he needs to get a feel for. And I think he can do that. I'm actually impressed with the Chargers right now. They had 2 big mistakes coaching wise that I need to hit on that other than that as well. Why are you covering Kelsey with Drew Tranquill all game?
There you go.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yep.
Makes no sense. He's one of the greatest tight ends of all time, and he ate him alive.
Yep.
You got to. I know Derwin James was out, so maybe that had a little something to do with it. But at that point, you got to bracket that man. Like, it's not going to work out that way. And the other thing is why they are the NFL has done this year. You see it with Washington when they would take Gibson out and put in McKissick down at the goal line. You saw it and basically got Urban fired, how they put in Carlos Hyde inexplicably for James Robinson. Why are you running Kelly over Eckler? I know Eckler maybe Eckler's a much better passing back. Maybe you don't trust him as much running, Well, that's what you need to fix in the offseason. Get you a big power back after that. But Kelly ain't it. You got to have your best players in scoring situations. And I hated trying to run Kelly on that play. It made no sense to me. Leave Eckler in the red zone and make him be a bigger threat. Even if you don't hand it off, at least you have the pass game element to it. I hated that play call. I think those are the three kind of things that costed the Chargers. I do want to say I love how the Chiefs played without Chris Jones. I think if Chris Jones was there, it would have been a lot harder night for the Chargers as well. But that was just a great game to watch. And Mahomes was in his bag. Herbert played well. A great game overall.
Yeah, so that was the main point that I wanted to make. Look, I agree with what you're saying about the. I'm a little bit old school. I like to think for the most part I'm new school, but I'm a little bit old school when it comes to some of these analytics. And look, I'm all for going for it, but I'm not for going for it three times in one game when you are inside the 30 in all three of those times and you have a lead in all three of those occasions. You kick one of those field goals, you win the game, bro. You kick two of those field goals, you definitely win the game. Like, I know other things could have happened, but it just was a little bit too gutsy. I understand the point of you want to be who you are and you don't want to change who you are and all that stuff, but situations matter, and it was just too much. It was way too much. My biggest issue, though, is the play calls when they did go for it. It is uncalled for. Brandon Staley should be getting destroyed for running Josh Kelly on a fourth and inside the one when you're right. Austin Eckler's not a power back, but he scores touchdowns, bro. The very next play, because after they didn't get it, if you remember, which I know you do, but for the audience out there that doesn't, they got an interception. They got an interception from Patrick Mahomes. The big defensive lineman, I forgot who it was, ended up falling on the 3-yard line. The first play from the 3-yard line, they run it with who? Eckler, and he pounds it in. Eckler has been scoring touchdowns all year, man. He's had a phenomenal rushing season. He's in fantasy right now. He's the number 2 running back in fantasy. Like, he's had a really good season. If you're going to run the ball on fourth down, there is no reason at all for having Kelly in the game. It's absurd. It's uncalled for, and he should get destroyed for it. It's just some of the dumbest play calling I've ever seen. And also, I just think the plays that he made, I just don't think he utilized his weapons the way that he should have and the way that he could have. I just did not like the play calls. But overall, the main thing that really, really just grinded my gears was the fact that he had Kelly in that. They score that touchdown, bro. They win that game. And Eckler is more equipped to handle that position other than Kelly. Way more equipped.
Yeah, so that's been an actual overarching thing that's been happening in the league, especially this year. And I find it strange. And I'm not exactly sure why it's happening. I know a lot of the fantasy football people out there are probably super frustrated about it. And believe me, when I say this, the NFL people don't give a fuck about your fantasy team. But the truth is, it makes no sense NFL-wise either. Your best players need to be in the game at big-time spots. Yeah. Not only for the fact that they can run it in, but for the fact that they can be a decoy on a pass play.
Yeah.
I mean, at least give the option. I mean, obviously, it made no sense in Jacksonville taking James Robinson off, and Urban basically got fired for it. You see it happen, like I said, with Washington, and now on Washington's win streak, they finally realized, oh, maybe we should keep Gibson in the game a little bit. Now we've got the Chargers doing it. I know Lombardi comes from that Saints tree where that's actually one of the places where that worked and started and originated. But you got to think Ingram and Kamara are like two different players. Like, they're perfect in that situation. When Ingram was back in his prime and they were running it with the duo they were doing, it was perfection. They had certain play calls set for Ingram, certain ones for Kamara. They had it down at the goal line certain times in formations, and they did it based off of that, so it worked. This is not like an Ingram Kamara situation. This is an Eckler and then a huge drop off to Kelly. You know what I'm saying? It's not the same. You've got to keep your best backs in the game when that's the case. If you have two, then I'm all for it. Like, I know the Ravens would have ran J.K. Dobbins on like 80% of the plays, but they have about two formations that they prefer Gus Edwards in. If that's how you run your offense, I get it. it's completely different when you're down on within the 5-yard line and you're not running your best back, though. It makes no sense.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Doesn't make sense at all. And just one last thing for the Chiefs here again. The Chiefs are the hottest team in the NFL right now. I know a lot of people would say the Patriots, but I just think with the way the Chiefs are winning, the teams that they're beating, the Chiefs are a really scary football team. And I wanted to see them gut out a performance where they didn't have Chris Jones and where it was a tough game. They had to come from behind. And for all those people, we talked about this last week, that said, oh, Patrick Mahomes this. Patrick Mahomes came from behind twice in the game in the fourth quarter and then had the ball first in overtime and didn't let the Chargers get that ball back. That is the Patrick Mahomes we're going to see in the playoffs right there. That's the Travis Kelce we're going to see in the playoffs. That's the Tyreek Hill we're going to see in the playoffs. The Chiefs are a very good football team right now.
Yeah, I wanted to see Mahomes come out and really be back. Like everyone's always, like it's the defense doing it. Like I get, is that a good enough win for these people to be like, okay, they're back, or like did he need to throw for 500 for you? Like I don't really know. He threw for 410 on them, so that's kind of the thing. Like you're talking about, and I mean Hill and Kelce just showed why they're two of the best weapons in the game.
Yeah,
Kelce, why he's one of the best tight ends of all time. Crazy stats. I mean, I think they both combined for like almost 350 yards wise.
Mm-hmm. It was absurd, dude.
I mean, in the offseason, I can definitely see Veach going out and getting a solid number 2, whether it's in the draft or like in free agency. But for now, you got Mahomes back to being himself, even with the weird turnover. He had one bad pick, but I mean, even with that, you've got him playing back toward the level. If that defense stays at any bit of level when Chris Jones comes back, I see I don't see any way they're not in the Super Bowl, to be honest.
Agreed. Yeah, no doubt about it. Good game last night. Very entertaining game. Let's move on to a really wild weekend of the NFL with some of the matchups, with what's going on in COVID. Looks like, I mean, COVID sucks, but for a football fan, it's pretty exciting that we're going to have some games on Monday and Tuesday now. Doubleheader on both games. I love that. I hate that it's happening, but I love having NFL games all across. We got games on Saturday as well, so that's going to be fun. Shawn, let's start with the Saturday game, okay? And that's the Colts and the Patriots. And look, that's going to be a huge game, especially for the Colts. It's huge for the Patriots as well, because now that the Chiefs won, they need to keep winning to try and get that number 1 seed. And the number 1 seed between the Patriots and the Chiefs is going to matter, because both of those home fields are huge advantages. And only one team, remember, gets a bye this year with 7 teams making the playoffs. So, but to me, the biggest thing is the Colts. The Colts have to win this game. After that, they get the Cardinals, and then they ended, I think, on the Jags and the Texans. I think. I could be wrong on that, or it might be too.
I know they play the Jags.
The Raiders, not the Texans. It's the Jags and the Raiders. That's how they end it. The Cardinals are a little bit beat up, so that game might not be as scary, but they're still a really, really good football team. But this game's at home. It's at home. We've seen what they've been doing. Shawn, I cannot wait to see how the Colts go about their offense against this Patriots defense. Because what do we always talk about Bill Belichick? He is always going to take away your best option. So is he going to take away Jonathan Taylor? And he's going to make Carson Wentz win the game? Can he take away Jonathan Taylor? And if so, can Carson Wentz win the game? Because Michael Pittman's going to be locked up against J.C. Jackson. That's going to be a good matchup. I am fascinated to see how Frank Wright and this offense game plan against the Patriots. And I'm fascinated to see if Bill Belichick can lock down Jonathan Taylor and make Carson Wentz win the games. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's going to be the big thing. It's going to be strength on strength. You're going to have the Colts O-line against that Patriots D-line, which is going to be something fun to see, because the Patriots D-line, you really think of Judon when it comes to sacks, but they're very stout against the run. Yeah. That starts with that D-line, and then those backers come up and hit. Like, that's just how it is. Yeah. You got that Quentin Nelson offensive line the Colts have, and they'll just blow holes open, and Taylor just hits them and goes. It's going to be interesting to see how Belichick schemes that up. And I think he's actually going to have it schemed, because that's what Bill does, man. If you have Jonathan Taylor in your playoffs right now for fantasy, you got to be a little worried. That might be your down game for Taylor. Because
Yeah.
if he's going to have a down one, it's going to be against this Bill Belichick defense.
Yeah.
The other thing is I'm a little shaky on Carson Wentz being able to throw against this defense too.
I know.
Because if they don't get that run game going and they make them kind of one-dimensional, I saw Carson Wentz in the second half of that Jags game, man. He was shaky, and they couldn't run the ball. That's a scary thing to deal with, especially with J.C. Jackson on that outside, Mr. Pick Six himself. That's scary with the McCourty back there and in the safety. I mean, it's going to be fascinating to watch. I think the big thing that needs to happen for Indianapolis is they need to come out and turn Mac Jones over, which has been hard to do this year because he kind of doesn't throw into danger all that much. He doesn't throw for big plays, but he also doesn't make big mistakes. This Colts team is one of the big takeaway defenses in the league. I want to see them really get after Mac Jones this game, really try to rattle him a bit. I know Damian Harris is out, so that's going to hurt him a bit, but Stevenson's still a very capable back. I want to see him try to turn Mac Jones over. I think this is going to be a slugfest of a battle because they're both kind of built the same. Wentz just has more talent. It's going to be fun to watch. I want to see how Belichick schemes, and I want to see what the Colts defense does over there with Eberflus.
I completely agree. We still have not seen a game yet where Mac Jones has been fully flustered on the road. And I'm talking about where he's making big mistakes, just like you said. I want to see that happen. It's going to happen, bro. He's a rookie. Might not be till the playoffs. It's going to happen. And I think this Colts defense could be the team to do it. I also, though, have a weird feeling, and it's totally a gut feeling, that we actually do see some points scored in this game. And I'm going to hit on that later on. There's just something about me that feels that things are going to open up a little bit. And we're going to get a 30 to 23, 22 type game. I could be completely off on that, and I wouldn't be surprised one bit if it ends 17-14. Would not be surprised one single bit if that's what ends up happening. I just have a feeling that this Colts offense is good enough to move the ball, but not through Jonathan Taylor. I'm really worried about Jonathan Taylor. I'm someone that does have him on a fantasy team in the playoffs. I don't know what he's going to do because you're right. Bill Belichick is so good at taking someone away from it. And I could totally see them taking away. It's just, what are they going to do in the passing game with Carson Wentz? I will be locked in to watch Carson Wentz because it's going to be a primetime game. It's going to be on Saturday. There's no college football other than some bowl games. This is Carson Wentz's moment to show everyone. He's had a good season. But everyone's been talking about Jonathan Taylor and the defense. It's his time to show he can put this team on the back and win. This is a big, big game, man. That AFC playoff race is so tight. There's so many teams at 6-6, 7-6, 8-6. There's so many teams right there. The Colts can't afford to lose this game at home.
Yeah, that's for sure a fact. They've got to win. It's a big time deal for them. The Patriots can drop this one and be fine, but I mean,
definitely.
The Colts have the tiebreaker over the Bills too, so they've like I said, they need to keep pace right now. I just love this coordinator matchup, man. Yeah. Josh McDaniels, that's one thing that I can't agree with you on. I can see the Patriots slinging it a little bit more because the weakness of that Colts defense is their secondary.
Yep.
They're just very opportunistic. I could see Josh McDaniels really drawing up an aggressive game plan like he does week in and week out, just changing for what the defense's weakness is. I can see that happening. But like I said, Eberflus is good on the other side. Then you got Reich against Belichick. Oh man, it's gonna be a coaching clinic out there. It's gonna be a great one to watch. If I had to make a choice right now, I'd probably say Patriots plus 2.5 for betting.
Yeah.
But man, it's gonna be a good game to watch.
It's gonna be a great game, bro. I'm really excited about this game on Saturday. It's gonna be a really fun one. Shawn, let's move on to another game. My team, the Atlanta Falcons, still in the race somehow. I really think Arthur Smith deserves a hell of a lot of credit. If you look at our roster, man, it is not a very good roster, especially with Calvin Ridley out. And we've found ways to win. It might not be the prettiest ways, but we're in it at 6-7. The 49ers are definitely in it. They are one of the, I would say, seriously, one of the scariest teams in football when it comes to having a wild card spot where the top teams don't want to have to play early on in the playoffs. And it's a really big game because if the 49ers win this game, they most likely are getting a spot. Unless they have an ultimate collapse at the end, they're most likely getting a spot. And like you said before we got on here, if the Falcons lose, they're most likely out because there's so many other teams bunched in. The Falcons don't have the head-to-head against Philly. They don't have the head-to-head against Washington. So they need to win out pretty much or at least go 3-1 to have a shot, and they still have to play the Bills. So it's the 49ers right now are sitting at -9.5. It's a very, very big spread. It's in San Francisco. But Jimmy G, man, we talked about this last week. He looks so damn good one week, and he looks terrible the next. Elijah Mitchell is out. They just announced that he will not be playing, so it'll be Jeff Wilson Jr. again. What are your thoughts on this game?
I think it's going to be a lot closer than that point spread indicates. That's for sure. Because, like you mentioned, this is going to be the Falcon season right here, and the Niners love to play down to competition. Man, they love to play down. They blew out the Jags. Other than that, they are in every single game they play. Yep. And if they had just locked up that Seattle game like they should have, there'd be no question they were in. They'd be even more easy. This is a type of thing like that Seattle game where they've got to show up to play if they want to really solidify that spot. It's going to be a tight one, in my opinion. And also, while we were talking about those running backs earlier, can Arthur Smith just leave Cordero Patterson in at running back for the majority of the game, please? I mean, I know he's not a natural running back. He's the best one you have. Play him. It's time to leave him in.
He's over 1,000 yards easily, bro. I mean, I love Mike Davis. I love his passion. He loves Atlanta. He's not getting it done, bro.
Mike Davis, you're running Quandre Allison.
We're running Quandre Allison too. It makes no sense, bro. And sometimes Arthur Smith will do that on third down too when we got to get the first down. Leave that. Cordell Patterson is a special player, and Arthur Smith has found a way to tinker something that has gotten him to play his best football in the NFL. Leave him in the game. He wants it. He wants the reps.
Well, you're seeing Cordero. He's poor man's Debo. You're going to see him looking in a mirror across the field from each other.
That's a great one.
You got to use him more, though. Yeah. I mean, what it is Cordero's just a much better running back than receiver, and Debo's a better receiver than running back, but they can do both. Arthur Smith has got to leave him in. I do want to get to this little thing. So Twitter will pop up some stuff, and there's a 49ers reporter. Right, he's a beat reporter, so he's there for Kyle Shanahan's press conferences. Obviously, they get quotes and everything from it. And this quote came up. This is from Grant Cohn, 49ers beat reporter. Kyle Shanahan giving Matt Ryan a backhanded compliment Wednesday. His quote is, "When things are going well around Matt, you'll see him play at a high level." That's the most Kyle Shanahan compliment of all time.
Bro.
Kyle Shanahan out here with the backhanded compliment to Matt Ryan. I wonder if that can fire Matty Ice up a little bit. Maybe get him wanting out there. I know he's going to want to beat his former coordinator a little bit, but that's a little bit of shit talk from Kyle, in my opinion. Kyle kind of saying, hey, as long as everything's all good around Matt can play at a high level kind of thing. I don't know. I want to see how Matt Ryan responds to that.
All right, so that's really funny. All right, so for all you out there, Shawn told me before the show, he played this really, really well, that he has something he wants to read to me that Kyle Shanahan said about Matt Ryan. I didn't know about the quote. I didn't see the quote before, so this is the first time I'm hearing and reacting to that quote. That's a little spicy right there, bro. Why does Kyle Shanahan need to go out there and say that? First of all, Kyle Shanahan, we could say that when Jimmy G is playing well, then you look pretty good too, bro, because other than that, you haven't looked great. I hope Matt Ryan takes that to heart right there, because that's a little you don't need to go out there and say that. The fact that he did, and you're right, Matt Ryan wants to beat Kyle Shanahan. He wants to put the nail. I mean, Matt Ryan would love to say, hey, you're 7-6. We're 6-7. Let us get to 7-7 and have the tiebreaker over you. It would change everything for Matt Ryan. So I hope he sees that, uses that as some motivation. That's an interesting that's an interesting quote right there.
Yeah, and I kind of find it a little bit wrong. I think Matt Ryan's kind of been carrying you all year with Ridley being out and everything like that. I've seen Matt Ryan kind of carry some teams. Yeah. So I don't know if Shanahan can speak a little weirdly sometimes. So I don't know if Shanahan was trying to say, for him to have his MVP year, everything went right around him. But I feel like Matt Ryan kind of carries the Falcons a good little bit.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's not going to last but another.
He's never had it. His whole time, bro, his whole time in Atlanta, he's never had a pass rush. He's never had a good defense. He's definitely carried us at times.
Yes, I thought that was a very interesting quote. I wanted to see your reaction to it, so I really wanted to see that. It's gonna be fun on Sunday to watch that game now, especially with all that going on a little bit.
Yeah, if I was Matt Ryan, I I would tell Russell Gage to do an out route towards the sideline, and I would throw it completely wide and just drill it right at Kyle Shanahan on first down. And then you can start on second down and actually play. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's going to be an interesting game. It's a really important game, bro. It's a huge game. It's a 4:00 game. It's in San Francisco. It's going to tell us about moving forward what's going to happen because there's still a lot of things that need to be played out. And in the NFC right now, Washington, even though they moved that game to Tuesday, they are depleted, bro. COVID everywhere. They're depleted. Philadelphia is putting reports out there that Minshew and Hurts are splitting reps. Like, I don't know if they're just trying to mess around with people or what, but those are coming out. Like, the NFC is and the Vikings, 1 week look great. The next week, I could totally see them lose to the Bears on Monday Night Football. It would be the most Vikings thing to do. I would not be shocked one bit if that happened. So it's a huge game. It's a fascinating game. And hopefully Matt Ryan takes that quote to heart.
Yeah, Vikings look great. They almost blew a 29-point lead.
Right.
They're bound to lose any game they're in.
Yeah,
so that's kind of how that is. But I agree. I hope Matt Ryan plays well.
Yes.
We'll have a pick for that later on my end. So we'll talk about that a little more in the future. I do think it's going to be a good game, though. I don't think that spread is going to really be indicative of what happens.
I agree. I agree completely on that one. Let's move on here to what was another game you wanted to hit on?
What was that next one? We had it all sorted out and then forgot.
Yeah, I had it right here in my notes. See, the one thing I did want to talk I want to talk about this, but I just don't know what we can really say until we get more news on if Lamar's playing or not with the Packers. Against the Packers. So because of that, I think it's kind of hard to talk more about it until because I know Tyler Huntley has kept him in games.
I know Tyler Huntley ain't keeping him in that game.
He's not keeping him in that game. He's not keeping him in that game, bro. They need, if they're going to have a chance against the Packers, they need Lamar to play. And I don't even know if Lamar plays, they still have a chance.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the case for sure. I don't see the Ravens winning this game. I don't think Lamar's going to be out. He hasn't practiced all week. He was out again today. Usually, if they're not practicing by Friday, it's kind of a no-go no matter what. I think they might hold him out and just try to have him healthy those last 3-4 games, try to make the playoffs that way. Yeah. Because if they lose him, that's the one person they can't lose. They've lost everyone else. They can't lose him. Yeah, so I think that's where they're at. Plus, the Packers are going to want to come out and keep pace for that 1 seed.
Yeah, which they have a really good shot at getting right now, especially with everything going on with the Cardinals kind of sliding down a bit. Let's move on to Jacksonville here. All right, okay. Let's move on to what happened with Urban Meyer. First of all, guys, if you haven't listened to the show that we dropped on Tuesday, go check that out. We had a really good conversation. Shawn really took us through a lot on what's going on, and we told you guys who we think should be good to hire if he did get fired. So go check that one out, and then let's just rehash it now that he is officially fired and who you want as to be the head coach. Your thoughts on the situation?
Yeah, so make sure you go check out that pod from earlier in the week. I went over like what led up to it, where he kind of went wrong, what kind of happened that forced the firing. And then I said at the end that obviously I believed he should be gone because you got to get free agents in, and we were not going to be able to do that with how he was treating people there. So then he got fired. That was kind of a shock to me. I didn't expect it to happen this week. I thought it would happen maybe after the Texans game if they lost, or maybe at the end of the year. But I guess Shad Khan thought he had enough. On top of that, I think the players were kind of done. Everyone kind of seems relieved now that he's gone. I mean, the media is joking around, kind of stuff like that. So he needed to be fired, obviously.
Yeah.
Who we need to replace him with? Now that's the question. We've got to get an offensive coach. Yeah. It's got to be offensive. I don't care which offensive coach it is. The two big people so far that I see thrown around, Byron Leftwich and Jim Caldwell. I understand Leftwich. I don't understand Caldwell necessarily. I understand Caldwell's a great man, and I understand he led the Lions, who was a dumpster fire as well, to those records. I think Caldwell's too old, and I don't want to sound like too against older people and age, stuff like that. I just think he's too old. I think if we're going to hire Caldwell, he needs to be in the front office. That's where I think you should hire Caldwell to. Hire him in that old Tom Coughlin role we had. Let him be the president. Let him kind of oversee football operations. Let him be the person the GM and the coach report to and talk to with each other. Make it be like a big like you funnel stuff through him, ideas, bounce it off.
Not a bad idea.
And do that way. That's what I think needs to happen if you're going to hire Caldwell. Leftwich, I understand where the fan base is coming from. It's nostalgia. He used to play for us. Now he's been under Arians for a while. What worries me with him is he has Tom Brady. Brady's a lot of that offense.
Yeah.
Brady kind of comes up with the schemes. I know Leftwich helps with all that, but I mean, how much is Brady seeing at the line and calling himself, I think if you get Leftwich, I think you almost have to package deal Godwin into it.
Yes.
To get his system. Who I said on Tuesday is still who I believe. Doug Peterson's the best fit, in my opinion.
That's the best.
Doug Peterson's the best fit because if you kind of look at Trevor, he kind of has that. He's quiet, but when he speaks, he's heard. He's a leader in that way. Yep. But he's also very coachable. Mm-hmm. He's kind of religious in that way too, but he's very coachable. He's going to listen to what you say. He wants to get better, and he goes to work. He has somewhat of a Nick Foles personality, where if he makes a mistake, he doesn't take it to heart. He comes back out there. He's quietly confident. And Nick Foles took that coaching from Doug Peterson, and Peterson loved Foles. Mm-hmm. But Foles didn't have the talent. He's just not an NFL player like that. What Trevor has is he has Carson Wentz talent. Yeah. I think it's the best of both worlds. I think Peterson can bring the best out of him. I think Peterson does a good job hiring a staff, and he brings instant credibility to a franchise that needs all the credibility in the world. That Super Bowl ring will go a long way in showing people we're not a joke anymore. I think Doug Peterson's the best fit, and that's who I would hire if you were asking me today. I don't think I'm going to change my mind over this time. I think that's who I would hire.
Yeah, so a couple things here. Nailed on the head with Peterson. I think Peterson is the slam dunk home run hit. I understand the Caldwell because of the culture. And Caldwell's a hell of a football coach. I mean, he really should have never – I mean, that's when the Lions effed up. The Lions should have never fired him. The man was having 9 and 7 seasons with a team that really wasn't even that good. Like, they never should have fired him. But they also the problem, like you said, is he is much older. And how long is he going to be able to coach? And I think your point about bringing him to the front office is a phenomenal point, because if you're looking to change the culture, you can still do that by bringing someone into the front office. Caldwell can still have a huge impact in the front office. He doesn't have to be on the sidelines to change the culture. So I love that idea. But I think Doug Peterson can change the culture as well. Doug Peterson's a tough dude, man. Like, he will go in there and get things straight. And he's a coach. He knows how to coach so well, man. The way you know someone's a good coach in the NFL is how do they do when injuries happen? How do they do when adversity hits? How do they do when they are seriously with their backs against the wall? Go watch those Eagles teams after the Super Bowl. Don't look at the job he did in the Super Bowl and on the way up, which was already incredible. And the way he changed the team to make things work for Foles after Wentz went out. But what's even more impressive is what he did after the Super Bowl. Carson Wentz was mentally and physically broken. Their offensive line, they were the most injured team in the NFL the last couple of years with each other. And he still found ways to get them to 8-8 and 9-7 every single year and win the NFC East. You can talk about how bad the NFC was there in NFC East. It's still the NFL. That shows me that Peterson knows how to coach football, bro. And that's what Trevor Lawrence's deal. Look, this is going to sound hyperbolic to some people. To Shawn, it won't. And to people that understand, it won't. This is the biggest and most important decision in Jaguars history. In the history of y'all's franchise. Because you finally have the keys. You finally have the dude to drive the convertible, to drive the Porsche. You finally have that guy in Trevor Lawrence. He just needs help driving it to start off. And if you don't get him the right person that can help him it could damage everything, bro. And it will set the franchise back years on end. Trevor Lawrence is one of the best talents we've seen in a long time, but he's not God. He still needs help, bro. He still needs help to get to where he needs to be, just like any other quarterback. And if they bring in someone to screw that up, just like Urban almost did, it will be a disaster. It is the biggest decision in Jaguars history, and that's why I love Leftwich, and I think he'll be a really good coach one day. I just don't think this is the time for him with the Jaguars. Might be great for someone else. I just think this is way too important, and you need someone that has already proven they can win with young players, young quarterback, and someone other than Tom Brady, bro. That Bucks team is one of the most talented teams in the NFL. You can put a lot of coaches in that role, and they're going to look really damn good. That's not taking anything away from Leftwich, anything, because again, I really think he knows football, and I think he's going to be a really good coach one day. I just don't think this is the right time for that because of everything I just said about how important this hire is.
Yeah, you could see Byron taking over for Arians too whenever he
Yeah,
retires. That's a very big
for sure.
possibility. So the list that I've seen out so far is Bieniemy and Leftwich. Obviously, Bieniemy interviewed last year.
Yeah.
They have Bowles, but I don't believe they're going to take Bowles. I don't think they're going to go defense at
Yeah.
all. Dayball, which interviewed last year as well. And then Peterson was on the list too.
Yeah.
Here's the crazy one. And I've heard this from Albert Breer now, and it's confirmed by sourcing. There's a guy on Twitter, if you're Jags fans, you know him. He's not verified, but he's like super accurate about everything Jaguars. I don't know who his sources are, but it's crazy. So he's confirmed that like he's on the list too. A big person that everyone is saying is Josh McDaniels, which I think is not crazy. I don't know how I feel about McDaniels necessarily. Albert Breer has gone on 2 shows now and essentially said Belichick like can recommend McDaniels to the Cons, and the Cons would probably take him. Like that's how it is. And that Belichick might feel like he's in debt to Josh for not letting him take those Giants jobs and everything. He sent Joe Judge out there instead of McDaniels. They're saying that Belichick would be like, all right, here's your guy. We'll give you the quarterback. I'll recommend you to the Cons, and the Cons would listen because the Cons actually hired Marrone on Belichick's recommendation.
And Marrone did a decent job in the beginning, by the way.
That first year, yeah, until Tom Coughlin started interfering with the players and everything. Yeah. So that's interesting. The thing I worry about
that? How do you feel about McDaniels?
That's what worries me about McDaniels is that we already have a situation where Coughlin made the environment toxic for players, and Ramsey and Fournette and all them wanted to leave, and I understand. Now the reason why Meyer's gone is because the environment is toxic, and you have Robinson and to an extent Trevor kind of speaking out against it.
Yeah.
I worry that McDaniels is going to try to be Belichick too much and really make a toxic environment as well. That's why I like Peterson. I think Peterson's more of a people guy. Yeah. Like the locker room will like him, but he's still respectable. You know what I mean? I understand McDaniels, though, if you're going for a straight development role on Trevor and a game plan week in and week out, there's no better than McDaniels. You see what he's doing with Mac Jones. Imagine what he does with Trevor Lawrence. So I understand. I agree with that. He'd be in my top 3 probably, maybe even 2. I just like Peterson because I feel like he's just going to be he's the best of all the things we tried to hire. We tried to hire Gus Bradley where he was like a player's coach. Then we tried Marrone, who was a more respected disciplinarian. And then we tried to bring in Meyer, who, I mean, still offense guy. Now you're kind of combining them all with Peterson. I think it's a home run, Peterson is. But if McDaniels is there, he's waited all this time for a second shot. Hopefully he doesn't go too far Belichick because that was what got him in trouble in Denver. I would hope he's learned by now, and I would understand that hire as well.
Yeah, I don't mind McDaniels. McDaniels is a hell of an X of no guy. He's a hell of a development, and I think he would be interested in this job because of Trevor Lawrence. Like the job is very enticing because of Lawrence and the amount of money you guys have. It's going to be tough.
Another top 3 pick probably.
Yeah, so. It's very, very enticing. I wouldn't mind McDaniels, but there are some question marks / risk there. I don't see any risk with Peterson. Look, every coach is going to have some risk and stuff, but I truly do not see any risk at all with Doug Peterson. Like, I just think that's the home run hire. I don't know how Khan's going to feel about him. He's different. He's a different guy. He clearly wanted some power in Philly too. Maybe the Jacksonville Jaguars are willing to give him some power. I don't know. We'll have to see. But Peterson to me should be the number 1 guy.
Well, I think Balky's going to be gone, and I would think. See, this is where fans sometimes make more sense. I would think if you were going to get Peterson, you would get somebody in that like Chiefs front office
Yeah.
to be your GM that knows him. Like, or the old Philly front office, like that's out there. Like, I know Lewis Riddick and everything has been a hot name, but I think Peterson and Lewis Riddick know each other. Like, if you're going to hire Peterson, go get Lewis Riddick.
Agreed. I would love Lewis Riddick as
if
my
you're going to get Peterson, go get Mike Borgonzi with the Chiefs, like, because he knows him. You go get one of them. Like, you don't have to give him full autonomy and full power over player personnel, but you do need to get a GM that's aligned with him. So just go line it up. That's why I said having Caldwell over top of the two of them would actually make sense if you really wanted to change the whole culture of it. But again, you never know. Like I said, that's where I'm at on Caldwell. I'd much rather just hire him in the front office as a big-time advisor type instead of hire him as a coach. But even then, I understand he did work with the Lions. I have concerns about him being out of the league for so long offensively. The league moves fast, like, you know what I'm saying? So
it does. He's still really good. I would be more just concerned about his age and everything, but it's going to be a fascinating situation. I love everything. We will definitely continue to talk about it, especially as we hear more and more. But with that being said, Shawn, and how you just talked about earlier in the show, how you tweeted out about line with the Jaguars, and now it's already gone all the way up to 5. So you want to check that out. Get on Twitter, follow us at the Money Down Pod, click the notifications so you can start to see. With that being said, bro, let's recap how we did last week with our bets, and let's go over our bets this week to kind of wrap up the show.
Okay. Do you have yours pulled up, or do you need me to read both of ours?
I'll pull it up. Go ahead and yeah.
So what I had last week, I had a little bit of bad luck. I know Kayvon, I believe, went 6-1. He's going to impress you, but I had a little bit of bad luck with my tweets out. I had football team +6, which was a shaky game.
Yeah.
And I think that, did they backdoor that? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Right at the end.
So I had the football team backdoor, right? But then I had the Bills +3.5, and they lost on the last play.
Yeah.
So, in overtime, not much I could do there. Browns -2.5. I got killed at the end with the Tyler Huntley comeback. I thought I'd hit that perfectly.
And they still won by 2. You just missed the hook.
Yeah, I missed the hook. James Robinson over the 56.5. Obviously, they ran the ball 8 times total, so that didn't happen. Yeah. I don't know what the total is going to be for Robinson this week, but I'll hit that again. I'll hit the rushing yards total again because Hyde is out, and now they're going to be wanting to run Robinson after all this happened.
Agreed.
I did hit on Russell Wilson over 239.5 passing yards. He threw a lot, and so my bet's there.
You hit on the
the Rams cards.
Yeah, you hit on that too.
Yeah, on the over.
You hit the over on that as well. Yes, so pretty good day there for Shawn. Unfortunately, some bad luck. They could have had him an excellent day, but still profitable all around. So definitely keep following us on Twitter for those. Like Shawn said,
I was 3-3. 3-3.
3-3. I had a really good week. 6-1 overall. I had 49ers -1 that hit. I had over 43 in the Ravens Browns, and unlike Shawn, so Shawn got the bad luck in that. I actually got the good luck because if the Ravens don't score that touchdown at the last second, that doesn't go over, and I don't cover, but Shawn does. So unfortunately, Shawn got screwed. I didn't, but one way or the other, that was how it was going to happen. I lost the under first half in the Panthers-Falcons, so that was my one loss. I got the Broncos -10. I got Cole Beasley over 4.5 reception. I got Gronk over 50.5 receiving yards, which, by the way, happened in overtime. So I got lucky with that one, but it hit. And then I had Burrow over 257 passing yards. So 6-1 day, great day. We've been doing really good all season with these. Shawn, moving into your picks this week. And by the way, these picks that you hear now are our official picks, but we will have way more come out because you got to wait a little bit. It's hard putting out plays early. So we will have way more come out Saturday night or Sunday morning. So definitely stay tuned to the Twitter page for those.
Yeah, especially with a week like this with all the COVID stuff. So we're going to have Monday and Tuesday games. We kind of got to survey the landscape and see who's in and who's out on that as well. So, our props and all that, definitely we come out. So follow the Twitter if you want to see these plays. But our third and short, third and long, that's what we do. Third and short's a lock. Third and long is a long shot. Most of the time our third and longs are those prop bets you see. But I have two locks that I like this week for third and short. I mentioned it earlier. I really like Falcons +9.5. I think that's going to be a much closer game. Falcons for their season. Niners play down to competition. I don't think the Niners should be favored by 9.5 on anybody unless it's the bottom 4 teams in the league. I really like the Falcons there. The
Hope
other
so.
one is the line doesn't make sense, which you can be scared about because sometimes Vegas will throw these lines that you look at and they don't make sense. But I'm just going to take it because I believe the Bengals bounce back this week. Bengals +3 against the Broncos. I don't trust Denver's quarterback situation. I know they're playing at Denver. I think Burrow and them just come in and kind of tear them up. I like the Bengals +3 this week.
Yeah. So completely agree that they should win that game. There's just something so weird with that line. And again, doesn't always mean it's bad. You know, like you said, they still should win that game. And I pray you're right about that Falcons. I also am looking at the Falcons game, but I'm looking at the over 45. I think that there's both teams score. I think we get a high scoring game. I think it's a fun game. Give me the over 45. And another one here is that I'm a little worried on, but I'm going to roll with it, is the over 45 as well in the Colts Patriots game. And that is Saturday night. Remember, so if you like that, if you want to follow me on that one, get that in before Sunday because that's Saturday night, over 45. And again, we will have way more picks coming out Sunday, Monday, Tuesday as well. Anything else before we head on out, Shawn?
Some breaking news in the NBA just came across. I mean,
Anytime.
we'll start doing NBA stuff in the NFL offseason because
Yeah.
obviously football's so big. But I guess Kyrie Irving's about to be like a part-time player.
Yeah.
So me and Kayvon and me are usually kind of lockstep. Like we have good takes that we kind of are very similar in football.
Yeah.
Whenever we do start this NBA stuff, we'll probably butt heads a lot because we're very different on basketball. I don't know whenever we do start it up, Kayvon's going to have some strong opinions about Kyrie. But for all the NBA people out there, it looks like Kyrie's going to be a part-time player this year. He's going to start playing, I guess, away games for the Nets.
If you're excited about NBA and some takes, just come back to this show when it's time because the NBA gets me fired up and Shawn as well. And yeah, Kyrie Irving, we'll see about that. All right. And like they say, until I see it with my own eyes, I don't believe it with that, man. This is the Money Down Pod. That is Shawn White. I am Kayvon and Shawn. Follow us on Twitter at Money Down Pod. We appreciate all of your support, all of those that have been with us since day one, all of those that are just now joining us. Thank you. Please come back. Let us know your thoughts on the show. Let us know what you want to talk about. We will talk about it, and we will definitely give you a shout out. Once again, Shawn White, Kayvon and Shawn, the Money Down Pod. Have a fantastic weekend. Happy holidays. We will talk to you guys next week. We're still working.
We'll probably do a little different schedule. We'll probably let you know Monday. We're doing the Monday pod, right?
Yeah, we'll do the Monday.
We record Monday. Hey, we'll let you know the rest of the week after that.
We'll tweet out the schedule and everything like that when we figure it out. But definitely, but we will talk to you guys next week. Have a great weekend.